So, in light of the election, I put out a video where. Good morning, everyone. So I've seen this rhetoric for Thanksgiving where people are saying they're not going to invite Trump voters, family members, to the event to sit down and break bread together. Is it so much about political affiliation, or should we just not invite the people we don't enjoy, regardless of political affiliation? There's good Trump voters, bad Harris voters, obnoxious Obama voters. Every election has them on both sides. And before this, wasn't it who you didn't want to watch the football game with because they were an obnoxious fan of the team you didn't like? Where's the practice of acceptance? None of us are perfect, see? And unless it's going to come to real violence or trauma, make the invitations and ask for a set of rules that we all agree we're not going to discuss this because we don't agree. We should be giving thanks. What are your thoughts? Leave in the comments. Let's talk about it. Saying basically, like, at some point, do we just like not invite like family and friends because they voted one way or the other? And one guy jumped on and he was talking specifically about Trump voters, and he was like, I'm not going to invite somebody who endorses a racist, this and that, a bigot, whatever. And my feeling is like, then do you not invite somebody who listened to R. Kelly, who still listens to R. Kelly, who still listens to Diddy, who has an OJ jersey? You see what I'm saying? Like, is there a point where we have to not, like, if you still like R. Kelly, I can't call you a child molester.
Exactly.
So
or I won't end a friendship or anything like that just because
right.
you mess with an artist that I don't mess with.
Right. So do we do the same thing with Trump? Like, if somebody voted for him, does that mean they actually believe or would do all the things that he did?
That's a good question. I would probably have to say they're not. I would say that they're not for like the racism and stuff that he goes with, but I feel like they are for some of the other stuff that he does do.
Correct. So it's kind. Is it kind of like listening to R. Kelly? Like, you wouldn't pee on a young girl, but you can still understand, like, right. Like, and there's so many people that we have that with. Like, you could like The Rock, but are you going to take steroids?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, we can't be mad at everything that people make as individual choices. Like, I definitely don't rock with a lot of stuff that Trump did, but I can't say that if that person voted for them, they are everything that he embodies.
Exactly, and they go for everything that he did,
Right.
Because even like nobody's gonna say, he even messes with the bad stuff that he does, because everybody does bad stuff and good stuff.
Correct.
Some people look at the good stuff that people do and tend to look away from the bad stuff that they do.
Yeah, and there was a lot of people that were saying that Trump's first administration, and I'm not rocking with him or without him. Like, we just still have to live in this world.
Exactly.
But do we, like, how much more division are we going to have? Like, you supported that. Well, okay, I could find 10 companies that you buy products from that have supported other things that are not good for humanity.
Exactly.
So do we, like, how much do we, like, start cutting people off? Is it all in or all out? Because we're not all saints. We're not supposed to be.
Right.
And a lot of times, yeah, you could look at somebody and say, well, I don't support that, but I'm still going to vote because of policy.
Right.
But we're still supporting all of these companies that are destroying the earth, destroying, a lot of other things that are way more dangerous than one guy for 4 years. We're buying products from companies that are going to be around when our children's children are still around.
Yeah.
Still destroying the earth. So that was my question. So I had a guy, he said basically, I'm not going to get down with that. And I respect his opinion. I respect him for who he is. But then it got me thinking, well, how many other things do we actually have in life that we support outside of, like, politics that really don't vibe well with a huge majority of the public?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And see, like me personally, I'm not really into politics and stuff like that. But when it does come to it, I still feel like same thing with the R. Kelly situation. Like, yeah, R. Kelly has done some crazy, insane things, of course. But hey, he makes great music. When it comes to Trump, like, yeah, he's done some Well, I don't know if he's done it, but I've heard like, yeah, he's a racist and stuff like that. But I'm sure that there's still some good stuff that he's done in the world, that I don't know of. But I'm pretty sure that there's some good stuff that he did.
Right. And even if you didn't know, like you couldn't sit down and name the good things, I can't say that you support grabbing women by, the genitals,
Yeah.
or that
that's crazy.
you wouldn't rent to a certain class of people, when you owned housing.
Right.
Those are the things we know him to have done. So I can't put that on you because those things happened before he even ran for president.
Oh man.
So I don't know. It's one of those really touchy things, but
That's
there's
still
people.
some crazy stuff though. I didn't
Right.
know that. That's stuff I did not know. He did.
Yeah,
That's wild.
he's got a whole thing, like his whole documentary is interesting.
Yeah.
But again, I still have an OJ jersey. And there's a lot of people that say, okay, he did that, but I'm talking about the man before he did those things. OJ was the first superstar.
Yeah.
Superstar.
Way
back in his prime. And so it's like, if you're a 10-year-old, 20-year-old, or whatever age you were at that time, and you saw him doing these amazing things, how do you then just say, I'm going to cut that off because of that? I'm sure a lot of people did,
Right.
but there's going to be a lot of people still say, that's still the juice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I watched him play in Buffalo, running through the snow and all that stuff. That's the guy I'm talking about,
Right,
not this guy.
Exactly. That's facts. So when it comes to that, bro, and then I feel like you can't cut off a friend just off a personal opinion that they have about somebody, a celebrity or anything like that.
I agree. The thing that I talked mostly about was I'd rather just cut out the obnoxious people.
Right.
Like if you voted and you quietly come and you're just here to break bread and we're all good, if you come in, rubbing it in everyone's face, and I don't care which way, even if it was a sports game, I don't want to sit down if you're a Dallas fan and have you jumping all over the house.
Right.
Just because the Cowboys won on Thanksgiving. Get out. You know what I mean?
It's a freaking shooting star in here right now.
Right. But that's just about the character of that person, not what they support.
Exactly.
So, I don't know. That was my thought, but I appreciate your thoughts on it.
No problem, man. I appreciate you, bro. That was a good question, though. I'm not going to lie.
That's the kind of stuff that I try to put on the channel, get people talking, thinking, and whether they get mad or not, I'll respect it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's we got to think there's a bigger picture.
Right. It's always a bigger picture.
Yeah. That's the old saying, when you point one finger, 3 point back.
Literally, right. Yeah.
Cool. I'm gonna keep this going, but I appreciate you, brother.
Appreciate you, man.
Next time we'll just sit you down and we'll do it in front of the camera, but I try to respect everyone's privacy. Okay, cool. All right, guys, you heard it. So, it's a big question in my mind. Hey, buddy. Hey, buddy. Okay. So that was my man Trey, and appreciate him giving his thoughts on this whole matter, because it begs the question. And what I'm going to try to do is cut this where I will put in the original question that I asked, and then put in the response, because the response to the video was basically saying that no, I can't sit down and break bread with somebody who supports a racist, a bigot, things like that. And the question is, well, what do we support it as individuals ourselves when it comes to some of the companies that we buy from, some of the artists that we still enjoy? I mean, you could make a real strong case that a lot of people who still like Michael Jackson, and I love Michael Jackson. Let me stop talking. So you could make a real strong case that Michael Jackson would be in that because of all of the allegations. Now, yes, definitely in a case like Trump, he was found guilty on a lot of these things. So that was a big part of the campaign, was you're voting for a convicted felon, things like that. But there's still a portion of that where I can remember when people were saying, look, just because I'm voting for him doesn't mean I support all the things that he does. And there's a sense of, I kind of understand where people are coming from. And I know that I get a lot of pushback. I've asked questions like that or broached topics like this before, and people ask, did I sell my soul? I've been told that, I'm basically whitewashed and things like that. Okay, that's fine, but where does name calling and angle shifting, where does that get us as far as answering these questions? Where does it get us as far as having these conversations? Where does it get us when we have to start seeing a larger picture? Because again, we've been voting for and buying products from companies and politicians that have been doing way worse for longer. This guy just happened to be kind of a blowhard and put himself out there, so it makes it an easier target for sure. But let's not act like we don't contribute to a lot of what happens on this planet. And granted, it is not, again, grabbing people physically by the genitals or saying things about other people in other countries and things like that. But then again, in the America that I see and the places that I see it almost every day, not the grabbing the physical part, but I see people saying some really off-kilter things or just treating each other in a very terrible way. And here's some more of my final thoughts on this matter. Are we mad at, are we trying to cure the actual disease, or are we just mad at the symptoms? People like Trump and Trump himself are symptoms of something much bigger, because all of this rhetoric and things like that have all had a place in people's mouths long before this man ever came to power. So this is why we can cure some of the symptoms by not adding to them by the way we treat each other. But we really do have to look at a bigger picture, because this man is only one person in power right now. But all over the world there is all forms of segregation, racism, sexism, just all sorts of oppressions. This is a much bigger problem than just one person, and we can't assign it to them if we're going to be honest with ourselves. Otherwise, we are entering into disingenuous conversations. So that's my thoughts on it. Maybe I'll have a little bit more, but this is where I'm at right now. So is it because this is an elected official that they owe more to the people, or is it just this person? Because again, silently, if we didn't know who people voted for, how would we know how to treat them when it came to something like my original question? Do we invite them to Thanksgiving or not? If we didn't know how people voted, if we didn't know how people worshiped, if we didn't know that they were Christian, Catholic, Lutheran, Nazarene, Muslim, Buddhist, agnostic, atheist, if we didn't know, how would we know how to separate the people in our lives? If we were blind and we didn't know what ethnicity people were, how would we know who to separate? It would be by content of character. It would be by the person that they present themselves to you to be. Are they a palatable person? Is their energy positively palpable, or is it negatively impactful? Content of character. But if you don't know, that's the thing. And it was my original point. When people are obnoxious about things, those are the people I don't want to be around. But if you can quietly come in and you voted a particular way, you like a particular artist for things that they've done, like we were talking about Trey and I, and R. Kelly. If you still like an O.J. Simpson, if you still like Michael Vick, all of those things, if you still buy from a particular company that we know gives, money to particular groups, if whatever it is, how do you know if you don't know? We can't just see it on somebody. It's like saying, if you didn't know, if we don't know people are gay or not, if they're not part of the LGBTQI community, how do we know? Did they have a prison record? How do we know? The only way we know is when we are given this information and then we work off our confirmed biases. That's how we know. So I would dare say there's a whole bunch of people that I know that probably voted for Trump. I don't know. And the way that they acted before and after the election is why they're still in my circle. There's people that it has nothing to do with politics. I can give you a story about a friend, and when I mentioned the Dallas Cowboys, he was the most obnoxious Dallas Cowboy fan ever, and I just didn't want to be around him for that reason. Had nothing to do with politics. It had to do with the content of his character.
And just to be clear, this isn't about being a Trump sympathizer or anything other than just trying to make sure that we do not erode our families and what matters to us as a result of something like this. It happened. And of course, yes, we have the ability to not empower people like that through voting. But I dare say a lot of people have voted very uninformed. A lot of people through history have voted very emotionally or through what they feel like is going to put their demographic back into a position or keep them in a position of some sort of power and privilege. We know what it is. I get it. And I'm not saying that I think that those are good things, but what I'm trying to look at is how do we minimize the damage when something like this happens? Um, we know we know what it is. We know a lot of people who did vote, and again, like I've been saying, this is about you know content of character. If somebody's just obnoxious about anything, chances are we don't really want to hang out with them. So is it less about the vote and how they act, or is it simply about how what they voted for? I'm sure for a lot of people they'll say, well, he voted for certain things that will impede the rights of some certain groups and stuff. And again, I'm not in favor of any of that. I want to be very clear, but I also think that we don't destroy everything on top of it as a result of the way that some people have voted.
And when I say minimize the damage, this is a long-standing, long-term thing that we should be looking at. We don't want to find out generations down the road that we're still not talking to each other. This is like the Civil War of sorts. People that went for the North and then others went for the South, and then did their families ever repair that damage and what happened as a result of that? Again, I'm not a Trump fan, but what I am a fan of is people coming together and persevering in the face of these sort of things happening. Yes, was it controllable through our voting? Absolutely. But again, I am going to say Trump is just a symptom of a disease. Our country, the United States of America, was founded on so many of the ideologies and ideals that people claim that he upholds: racism, bigotry, just greed, capitalism. All these things are basically, they are the fabric of this country. So when we actually try to assign it to one person, we're not being very genuine about that sort of thing. He's the latest. He's the latest flare up of of something wrong in our bodies, but that doesn't mean that's the disease. He's the symptom of it. And so what are we doing to fight that part of things? We have politicians in all sorts of offices that are possibly as corrupt, if not more corrupt. We have officers, judges. We have a lot of people in places that are as corrupt, if not more corrupt, and they are doing just as much damage on a level that's flying under the radar. And that's a dangerous thing, and we let it happen. Why? Because we're not paying attention. We're all paying attention to like one big thing like that, or we're not paying attention at all because it's happening between the 4 years of the presidential election. I don't often hear people talk very heavily about their political beliefs
unless it's the fourth year coming. It's like people aren't huge fans of, you know, United States gymnastics or track and field or swimming until the Olympics come around. So is it not necessarily our fault that a man like Trump exists, but what do we do in the meantime to put ourselves in positions to ensure that people like that, or just corrupt people, aren't able to hold position and are held more accountable when we're looking at police, when we're looking at things that are happening on a daily basis in our society that are a reflection of what we say this man upholds, but then we kind of turn a blind eye to it, or don't feel like fighting it or standing up for the next person. And there you have it. I mean, part of it is definitely on us. And I agree that our system is corrupt and it puts people in power, that, but we still have at least some say. And again, we know good people who have voted on either side of it. I have the utmost confidence that my children could sleep at somebody's house who has voted either way. But that's, again, like I said before, content of their character, not how they voted. I don't think that's just because somebody voted a particular way, they want all of the worst things that that candidate has to offer. And they certainly can't uphold all of the best things that that candidate has to offer. So, again, these are just long thoughts that I've had, because we are, you know, headed in a bad place if we're going to continue to tear our families apart. We say this man doesn't care about us, or the government doesn't care, and we're all going to, you know, suffer as a result of, you know, every presidential era that happens. But then why do we tear our families apart? It's cutting your nose to spite your face, basically. So we gotta stop that, and we gotta have some real talks with people. People that we grew up with, people that we've said that we love, and things like that. And again, if they're obnoxious, I completely get that. But if it's just a difference in the vote, sit down and have a genuine explanation or discussion with them. Explain your side without attacking, without demanding answers. That's not going to get anywhere. These are just my thoughts, and maybe I'm way off.
So we don't know how people think or what they support until they tell us or let us know. Then we work off of confirmed bias. We work off of experiences that we do or do not enjoy, or did not enjoy, and things of that nature. But we don't know until we actually know. And then we kind of do initially what we're saying that man did. Is we're holding things against people for things that, how do we know that all immigrants are criminals and rapists? We don't, and they aren't. But when you start holding things against it, we got to be very careful that we don't become exactly what it is that we are admonishing. That's just my thought. And I may try to tag another couple people at work and see what their thoughts are. But in the meantime, what are your thoughts? If you didn't know, how would you know? So do you just not invite anybody, or do you invite everybody? It's all or nothing. All or nothing. So that's my question. But again, you are well within your rights also. If you do know, and that's just what you choose, that's fine, whether the person's obnoxious or not. You're well within your rights, and I'm not judging it. I'm just asking a question. Is it all or nothing? Leave in the comments. Would love to see what you guys think. Thumbs up, thumbs down. I won't be mad at you. It helps. And as always, I hope this finds everybody in your place, pursuit, or beginnings of total health, mind, body, and soul. Peace, love, unity, solidarity. Oh, and subscriptions and videos. Stick around.